It's the Slam Dunk.
Okay, so Andrew Bailey was a minister last week in Christopher Luxon's government. This week, he resigned for putting his hand on a person in his office. It's probably a bit more than that, but he's resigned. So Mike Hosking of News Talk ZB asked the question. It's a really simple one, really simple question. And Christopher Luxon turns it into an unmitigated disaster, an unmitigated train wreck for 3 minutes. I mean, is Luxon truly this incompetent? Or was he just nervous? Did he not expect the question? It's a simple question. And it should take all of about 3 seconds to answer. Even a baby could do this. But Luxon is a corporate prime minister who has hijacked corporate speak and corporate jargon. He hides behind it, I reckon. And I worry about people that hide behind corporate speak, like blue sky thinking and, moving forward and all that sort of stuff, because I think it hides incompetence. Anyway, he hides behind this corporate speak. Many corporate people do, so they sound smart and sound like people of action. But corporate jargon, to me, are the words people use when they have no idea how to speak like an ordinary person and they have no idea what's going on. Anyway, so the corporate jargon was invented for people who really had no idea what they were doing. Anyway, Luxon hides behind this jargon, and that means jack all to the common man, doesn't it? Words like intervention. He talks about this intervention, with Bailey. What you mean, a sacking? Meeting expectations. Oh, yeah, standards. It's corporate mumbo-jumbo. Anyway, Mike Hosking is 100% right to call him on this. In fact, he's been like this for the past year, Luxon. I'm surprised people are just waking up to this. It's not like Hosking's an unfriendly, hostile interviewer of the right, or towards the National Party. I think you'll enjoy this. Have a look.
Because you've got yourself in the usual trouble with you being too nice. Would you have sacked him if he hadn't offered to resign?
Well, hypothetical, he did resign.
No, I know that, but just answer the question. Well, would you have sacked him?
Well, he didn't meet the expectations of the minister.
So was it a sackable offence?
Well, I think given how clear we'd been on the first incident about what the expectations...
Why can't you just answer the question? Well, see, this is why you get yourself reputationally in so much trouble. Would you have sacked him? Yes or no?
I can say he didn't meet the expectations I have of ministers.
So you would have sacked him?
I didn't need to because he resigned.
See what you're doing here? I don't...
Well, no, but you're talking about a specific case, right?
Would you have said... Look,
have I done a good job of laying down expectations of my ministers?
Yeah, but
yes, crystal clear.
But the next step is really simple. If he hadn't... I'm glad he offered to resign, because I tell you what, if he didn't, I would have sacked him.
He wouldn't have met my expectations as a minister.
Why are you saying it that way? I don't understand.
Well, that's what I mean. If he hadn't resigned, I would have made an intervention. I would have actually.
Why is it so bloody hard?
Well,
I would have sacked him.
No, but there's an issue here, which is
what is it?
No, but the issue is that most importantly, the standards are really clear of my ministers. They know the standards I operate within. Whenever we have any personnel issues, I think we've acted incredibly decisively. But what I'd say in this case is I laid down after the last instance crystal clear expectations. He reassured me there wouldn't be another incident. He knew there was an incident. He then actually made that decision himself. It didn't meet my expectations. It didn't meet his.
Count how many words you're using to explain this. This is why you're in trouble in the polls. People want something decisive. And look, if you wouldn't have sacked him, say so. Either way, I don't care. But people want from you, the Prime Minister, to go, this is my expectation. I'm glad he resigned, because if he didn't, I would have sacked him.
Well, that's exactly what has happened here, though, isn't it? I mean, he has resigned, and I've said to him he hasn't met his own expectations, which is important, right? I want ministers to understand it. I saw examples where ministers didn't know what the expectations. He came to his own conclusion.
Fantastic. Good on him for doing that. But are you the sort of person that would have sacked him if he hadn't come to that conclusion?
I think you've seen me act very decisively on personnel issues. It's something I've done all my life. It's critical.
No, that still doesn't answer that. I don't want to get bogged down in this.
Yeah.
Why can't you be decisive enough to simply say, I would have sacked him?
In this case...
Or not.
In this case, he resigned.
I know
if it hadn't happened, I would have then been involved with that and would have made a decision to say that he didn't meet my expectations. And that would have
Which would have led to what?
It would have led to him losing the role anyway.
So he would have been...
He would have been demoted and
demoted.
The ministry would have been taken away.
Right, sacked.
Yeah. Well, you would. Yeah, you can call it sacked.
You've made a complete meal of this.
Why does Luxon not have the guts to say he would have sacked him? Why is the word sacked so hard to come up with? Yeah, I would have sacked him, Mike. Well, if he hadn't gone, I would have sacked him, Mike. Yeah. That's all he had to say. That's not even 3 seconds. I thought Bailey should have been sacked the very first time he stuffed up, but Luxon froze then, and now he's frozen on the word sacked. The word that must never be mentioned. It's just far too casual. You know what I mean? Firstly, he wouldn't have this issue if he sacked Bailey a year ago. Bailey made a total cock of himself at that private function where he called a worker a loser for working Friday night. And if Luxon has such high standards, then how on earth did Bailey get a free pass on that one? But I'm just gobsmacked that he allowed such a simple question to turn into such a public train wreck. And good on Hosking for calling him out on this. It would take seconds to answer that question, but it turns into 3 minutes of a nightmare. And it's a piece of theatre that shows Luxon as indecisive and not the big, bold leader that he'd like to see himself as. I think it's revealing. And it's true he's down in the polls because this is how New Zealand sees his performance day in, day out. Like a teenager driving a car for the first time, bunny hopping up the street, it's a bit like that. He looks out of his depth. Labor ditched David Shearer for similar traits. I was there at the time, I remember it. Shearer sort of stumbled and muttered and stumbled. Great guy, but stumbled around. Luxon should be nailing this far left activist opposition. They're stuck in a time warp. They're offering nothing constructive right now. They're offering more of what they did last time. Labor has the same leader. They've not changed a thing. And Hipkins should be a way distant second to Luxon, especially given his refusal to criticise the Māori Party and its anti-Pākehā antics and all that sort of nonsense. I mean, there's one reason Hipkins is neck and neck with Luxon, and it's all Luxon's fault. It's because Luxon's not performing. He's not performing. He should be miles ahead, and on some polls, he's actually behind. Labor hasn't even said sorry for their time in office, let alone kicked anyone out or sort of gone back on anything they've done. They're doubling down on it. National MPs need only to take one look at that performance I've just shown you and ask, how on earth will this guy convince the country he's good enough for a second term? Because on that performance, he's not up to it. And now he's under pressure to lift economic growth and bring investment to New Zealand, and he has just a few short months to pull that off. It's almost too much to ask, but there is money available. And we'll talk to Sam Stubbs about this very shortly. But truth is, Luxon is the author of his own performance. You can't afford days off as the PM. Sadly, he took an off day at the worst time when we were all looking. Can he improve? I don't know. Does he need to? Yes. But is he listening? Does he believe he needs help? This is the thing. The best prime ministers are surrounded by people who are not sycophants, okay? The best prime ministers are surrounded by people who have the ability to criticise and critique the prime minister's performance, and crucially, the PM of the day must listen, must take it on board and make changes around the margins. And that should be seen to be constructive criticism. I'm not sure Luxon has anybody in his office that tells him the truth. They just nod approvingly. Luxon needs to find someone who holds him to account. Accountability matters on this stuff. He needs to be willing to listen to them and to take it on board, because if he repeats that performance too often, then she's over. Big time.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.